In this video, we're going to be exploring the absolute value of equations and inequalities, but in this one we're just going to look at equations. So the thing that you need to know is a concept that when we're looking for the absolute value of something, we're actually looking for the measure of distance, which means that the absolute value must always be a positive number. Okay, so absolute value is always positive number. So notice absolute value here is by itself. There's nothing in front of it, there's nothing behind it except the equal sign. So that's an important concept to think about. So let's just do something very simple. I'm going to draw a number line. And I'm going to make this my center, which we'll call 0. Okay? So we're just going to call that the center. So if I have the absolute value of some number, I don't know what it is. The absolute value of some number is 3. I'm going to say that the distance from whatever this absolute value is has to be 3. So since this is my center, the distance 1, 2, 3. So that means I have a point at 3, and my distance here is 3 units. But can I not also go 3 units the other way? I can. I can go backwards by 3 units. 1, 2, 3. Which means that this is negative 3. So if I go the distance in the opposite direction, this is also the distance of 3. Either way. Okay? So that is why when I have the absolute value of x equals 3, my value of x can be either negative 3 or 3. So that means x can equal plus or minus 3. So notice here that we get 2 answers. It just so happens that they're both the same, but they're not always the same. Because this is such a simple example, you'll only get the positive and negative of the same number. We're going to look at another way of looking at this. So if I have an equation, I'm going to write this out, 5 times the absolute value of x plus 4 plus 3 equals 18. Notice that my absolute value is not alone. So I have to get my absolute value by itself. I do not care what's inside of it right now. So my absolute value here, I want to get this by itself. So let's look what's happening on the outside. I have something being multiplied to it and something being added to it. So I'm going to get rid of my plus 3, because that's the easiest thing to undo. So then that gives me 5 times the absolute value, I'm going to ignore what's inside, equals 15. Okay, so my absolute value, which is what I'm trying to get by itself, still has a times 5 going on to it, which means I'm going to divide each side by 5. So I get the absolute value of x plus 4 is equal to 3. Okay, so remember I said the absolute value equals 3, which means I have a negative and a positive value that this could equal. Okay, the same thing is going on here. this is my absolute value, and I'm going to just write it like this. This is the same as my absolute value is equal to 3. So notice I'm going to take whatever was inside and make it equal to plus or minus. Okay, so what was inside? What was inside was x plus 4. So x plus 4 could equal negative 3, or x plus 4 could equal 3. Because remember, that's what we got up here, right? What's inside, this is what's inside. So I'm just going to mark this. What's inside the absolute value. And this here is also what's inside the absolute value. Okay? So again, don't look at what it is, look at where it is. So let's go ahead and solve this. We subtract 4 on each side. So I get x is equal to negative 7, or, let's subtract 4 on each side, x is equal to negative 1. So notice how my answers are different. So let's go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like on our graph, the same sort of concept that we had. So again, I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to draw. I only have one variable, so I only have one line. Okay. And I'm going to, let's see here, I'm going to put negative 7 here. And that would be negative 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so there's 0. This is negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. So negative 1 is here. So my answer is here and here. Well, why did we get a different number line and a different answer between this graph and this graph? Well, remember, we're talking about this outside number is the distance from the center. Okay, so that's why it's going to look different, the distance from the center. So the distance from the center is 3. So I'm going to go back 3 here just to show you what the center is. So if I go 1, 2, 3, this here is the center, isn't it? And here's 1, 2, 3. So what is this? This is negative 4. So the center is at negative 4. And here we have a distance of 3. And here we also have a distance of 3. So that is why we get different answers, because we're solving for x, and x has something happening to it in the center. So that's the whole concept behind absolute value.